Good morning, all the people who have come on board this webinar. It's an attempt by IEML, the organizers of IHE 2020, to stay connected with the hospitality sector in a very continuous way, so that our connection with the hospitality sector remains a year-long commitment and not just a one-off commitment which begins and ends with the show. As you know, IHE 2020 is going to be even bigger than IHE 2019, which had established itself as the biggest B2B show for the hospitality sector. Now, we are very fortunate to have with us the chairman of IEML, Mr. Rakesh Kumar, who will kick off the discussion. We have Mr. Hari Dadu, who's the president of IHE. In fact, the whole concept of India International Hospitality Expo, which is what IHE stands for, sort of emerged and was strengthened by Mr. Dadu. And they're also big lights in their own respective sector. We have Mr. Anil Malhotra, who represents HOTERMA. In fact, they are the critical people behind the hospitality sector. They are the Equipment Manufacturers Association of India, and they are the ones who supply hotel and restaurant equipments. We have Mr. Jatin Khanna, who's the market vice president for India, Nepal, and Bhutan for Marriott International. As we know, the Marriott International footprint in the subcontinent is really expanding. So, and also he can give a perspective not only from the hotel side, but also from the side of developers. Now, Marriott is one company which has to deal with about 100+ developers, because each hotel actually is owned by someone else, so who is the builder of the hotel. And we have Zehen Arora, who represents STEFAB India. Now, STEFAB is one of the leading manufacturers of laundry equipment. So, as you can see, and hotels in the hotel business, laundry plays a very important role. And as you can see, it's a very representative panel from the side of suppliers as well as from the industry. Now I invite Mr. Rakesh Kumar, Chairman IEML. IEML, as for those who may not know, stands for India Expo Mart Limited. It's the largest B2B space, exhibition space, at least in our side of India. Mr. Kumar, please kick off the proceedings.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Sarish. Thank you very much. Welcome all the eminent panelists. It is with a great deal of hope and a sense of anticipation that I welcome you all to the first of a series of IHE 2020 webinars on matters of the grave concern to the hospitality sector, even as it confronts its worst existential crisis yet. The sector has seen periodic dips in business in the past, the last one being during the economic downturn of 2008-9, but never before in modern human history has the world stopped traveling, going to hotels and malls, or eating out altogether all at once. COVID-19 had pushed the world into a state of lockdown, and the hospitality, retail, and entertainment business have ground to a halt. We are the worst affected in the entire scenario. Friends, such extraordinary hard times call for an extraordinary wealth of disruptive ideas and a readiness to be prepared for the new normal. As they say, the darker the cloud, the brighter the silver lining. Which definitely during the discussion, our Sarish Bhattacharya will definitely bring out the new areas over there where the silver lining is. We are well aware of the contours of the crisis that confronts. What we have need now are actionable solutions. And as custodians of the India's largest and the best attended hospitality industry show, that is India International Hospitality Expo, the IEML considers it its obligation to lead this churn of paradigm redefining ideas. Some days back, in fact, most of you must be aware that the IEML and the all hospitality associations, including HOTERMA, RCAs, PPFI, and many more, along with us, they approached the government with a charter of demand that will bail out the hospitality sector in the short term. Other stalwarts have also taken up the similar cause. Our principal demands have been that is 6% of interest subvention, deferment of the all statutory dues, wages compensation, waiver of the electricity, and many more. And more than that, the most important is that all 70 licenses of the hotel should automatically be renewed without any additional fees. So that is exactly why we are launching our IHE 2020 webinar series today, so that we can discuss and take stock of the state of the health of the hospitality sector, and then putting together a plan to get it back on track, the entire discussion. Today, we shall be making the big brush strokes, but in the days ahead, we shall focus our searchlight on micro areas that combine to keep the wheels of the hospitality sector running. We have 4 distinguished panelists today. As Sorish just now he introduced all of them. We have with us Mr. Jatin Khanna, renowned personality in the hotel industry, Vice President of the Marriott Group for India, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh. Chef Manjit Gill is about to join. He is also President of the NCCF. Mr. Anil Malhotra, he is the President of the HOTERMA Association. Zehen Arora from STEFAB. And the most important person today is Sorish Bhattacharya, who is a renowned columnist and the editor of several magazines. I also welcome all the stalwarts from the various associations, Archies, PPFI, and many more, and also IIA people. Those are joining today us. We have a very large number of participants today. Over 200 plus participants have today registered in this webinar. So thank you very much for the time you have spared for this webinar, and I wish a great discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I think the words that sort of resonated in my mind were actionable solutions. I think that's going to be the tenor of the discussions today. Mr. Dadu, some thoughts from you before we kick off our discussion.
Good morning to everybody. साथियों, कोविड-19 पूरे विश्व को परेशान कर रहा है, सबको मालूम है. हमारा देश भी बचा हुआ नहीं है, सबको मालूम है. गवर्नमेंट बहुत अच्छे तरीके से इसको हैंडल कर रही है, लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि सारी इंडस्ट्री को एकजुट होकर, हम सबको एकजुट होकर इस लड़ाई को लड़ना है. परेशानियां आ रही हैं, सबको बहुत आ रही हैं, और अभी और भी आएंगी. बहुत तरह की परेशानियां हैं, टैक्स को लेकर, दूसरी सैलरीज को लेकर, लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है कि इस लड़ाई को हम एकजुट होकर लड़ेंगे, एक साथ होकर लड़ेंगे, और मैं समझता हूं कि हम पूरी तरह से इस कोरोना को हरा देंगे और हमें पूरी तरह से विजय मिलेगी.
Thank you, Dadu sir. I think that is it. We have to all now put our heads together and start a major ideating process. And I think just before we came on board formally, Mr. Malhotra had some very interesting thoughts. So Mr. Malhotra, who's the president of HOTERMA, which is the Hotel Equipment Manufacturers Association, and in a sense, we all talk about the hospitality sector, but we do not talk about the downstream sectors, which are big employers, which also have their own problems associated with the overall downturn in the hospitality sector. So, Mr. Malhotra, the stage is yours. Please share your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. So basically, I would like to start with the, first that HOTERMA, we are a pan-India association, and we have more than 450 members, equipment manufacturers as well as service providers. And we, are providing our services across the board.
I think they're waiting for you.
Now, we have in the last 2 weeks, spoken a lot about what the government should do for us and how we are stuck and everything. I think let's put that behind us and let's go forward and talk to each other, and between us try and find solutions further so as to make this period, this gestation period, a smaller one, and go towards our growth in a much shorter period of time. This we can do by only helping each other. And I'm very happy to have Jatin here, and also Chef Gill, Zehen, and I'm thankful to Rakesh ji to have initiated this forum. Thank you very much. So my first question actually is to Jatin. Jatin, if I may ask you, just before we were starting the webinar, we had very briefly spoken about the last downturn, which I think for us also subsequently went towards the, as we call the Notbandi, which was also a kind of a downturn for India. However, having those last downturns, which was 2008, 2009, and subsequently just about 2.5 years ago, is there something, which we were learning at that time, we can put forth again towards this bigger, challenge that we have here? Do we have any learnings from earlier on that we should substantiate here to go further?
I think that is, you set the tone for the discussion. I think that is what we are going to now just focus on, Mr. Khanna, welcome to the on board. Now, you have, just realistically tell us how severe will be the effect on the hospitality sector, and, what are immediately the consequences that you can foresee?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I just want to make small correction. I head Marriott North India and not complete India. So I North India, Bhutan, and Nepal.
Okay.
To make that correction. I think a lot has been said and written these days in papers about COVID-19. I'm going to put it together as to how the situation is today within hotels, at least. If you combine September 11 and 2008, which is probably happened in 7-8 years, apart from each other, you combine together, this COVID-19 impact is much larger than that. When September 11 happened, or when 2008 happened, I was in London when September 11 happened, and in Hong Kong when 2008 happened. Still, the occupancies came down to maybe a possibility of a 20-25%, but not to single digit, and many hotels being closed today on temporary basis. As Mr. Kumar mentioned earlier, never the world has come to a complete lockdown and a grinding halt in terms of travel. So this is the first time when it is happening. To Mr. Malhotra's point, are there any learnings, or were there any learnings when last time stuff happened? So let me refresh everybody's memory when demonetization happened. 2.5 years, when we say that, was it a really slowdown? No, it only impacted F&B, not in the rooms business. But obviously what it did is that a lot other business models started coming into F&B, where it was kind of creating those kind of small little edges so that the industry does not go through that. What will happen post COVID-19 is also going to be very big, change the way we operate today. I think we started an informal chat earlier about work from home. Yes, as hotel company, we really cannot work from home, but there are still a lot of stuff which is happening, and I see that probably artificial intelligence will start taking over a lot more in hotels. While it is still in a nascent stage, it will start happening a lot more. So there will be a lot more changes.
I think this artificial intelligence is a point we will come back to. I think there is a lot of future to it, and
yeah, but to Mr. Malhotra's point, there are a lot of learnings. This, in my opinion, is more like a reboot right now for our industry, and there will be changes right at a process point of view, or a product point of view, or a people point of view. I think there will be changes on every level, the way we operate as we move along.
Zehen, you represent a company which is a leader in the production of laundry equipment. Now, the reason we put together this panel is that each of us brings to the table some specialist point of view. Now, from your point of view as a supplier of laundry equipment, how do you think will this downturn have an impact? Do you see, say, hotels increasingly outsourcing the laundry business? Of course, that won't impact you, I think, but but what will be the contours of the laundry business, in the aftermath of COVID-19?
So absolutely. I mean, I really concur with a lot of things which are being said by Mr. Jatin and Mr. Anil ji. So at the same time, I will talk about the laundry in my second part of my dialogue. The first part I would address is that when we talk about artificial intelligence, I was in China last year, and I ordered a bottle of water at about 3 a.m. and a robot came to my room, and I got a phone call from the robot and saying that, just open the door. So I opened the door and I see a robot standing outside my room serving water to me. It's basically a flyby which has a container space which can deliver food and water. So when you talk about artificial intelligence and automation, this can definitely help. But to be very honest, India is not in the stage to adopt artificial intelligence greatly when it comes to decrease of labor or manpower. Secondly, talking about working from home, I personally feel that we should concentrate on the cash flow and how these hotels and the entire hospitality industry will exist or would learn to exist in the next couple of months. So even if you talk about work from home, we have to pay salaries. As a manufacturer of laundry machines, I'm also a hotelier. I have a hotel. And even if I tell that I can do 20 or 30% of manpower which can work from home, at the end of the day, money is going out of my pocket, it's going out of my pocket. So I personally feel that we should also talk about the remedies. And I personally want to classify these remedies into 2 points. One is the internal remedies, one is the external remedies, which can be supported from the government. So there are certain recommendations we as a team, I always believe in one fact that one voice can be heard, but if you talk about a collective opinion and voice, it is heard in a broader fashion. So when you talk about the external remedies, I feel that, the government should support financially also in a lot of licenses and a lot of support structures. At the same time, when you talk about the internal remedies, all the hotels can do a lot of changes in the next couple of months to reduce this timeline of pandemic, or this which will be about 10 months, because I was going through a lot of articles before this meeting, and I really understood that it's going to take about 10 months for us to actually get back to normal. So for us to reduce this 10-month time to, let's say, 6 months or 5 months or 4 months, there's a lot of internal remedies which we need to discuss. Talking about the remedies and talking about coronavirus, we should all address to the elephant in the room, that is China. And we should see that 90% of the hospitality industry in China restarted in the month of February itself, just after 2.5 months when coronavirus or COVID-19 started in China. And if you see, the occupancy rates of the hotels in China have increased from 15% to 75%. There was an article yesterday, there was the Great Wall of China was packed with tourism, and that tourism was primarily domestic. And we cannot focus on international tourism, and no country will be focusing on international tourism. So the first remedy I feel for all the hoteliers and all the people in the hospitality sector is to concentrate on the domestic tourism. And
so then we'll come back to more remedies, yeah, yes. As we progress. But the reason I interjected that there is a difference between China and India, because that whole right now the entire Chinese government has sort of almost made it mandatory for all its bureaucrats to travel outside. They've almost made it a law that they have to travel out, and they have to be seen, they have to eat out. And so, I mean, a lot of things can be done in China, which cannot be done in India. But but that's a solution. I mean, I think it's a very good solution. Mr. Malhotra, how do you think, specifically, how will the equipment manufacturers, equipment manufacturing sector take a beating in the post-COVID-19 situation, and what are the remedies you suggest? And more importantly, what is the biggest government support you're looking at?
See, I would just put the gist onto a couple of things. Here we all of a sudden had to stop our equipment and services. Number one. So my first, my first thing that I have to do is I have to see that I retain my staff. How do I do that? Now it's a circle where I am dependent on on the hotel. When I supply my equipment there is a gestation of, let's say, 30 to 45 days credit, which normally I give to the hotel. I get that money back from them, and I further put it in my raw materials to give a second churn onto my services back to the hotel. Now, if my first my first thing gets delayed by a couple of days, I can still manage. But if this circle is delayed beyond a certain amount of time, my whole parameters go haywire. Because coming to think of it, please realize that I'm a small-time entrepreneur. I am talking about companies which are between 5 to 15 people. I'm talking about some companies who might not even have credit limits in, with banks. At this point of time, going for a credit limits is a big problem. I'm the one who has to give GST. I'm the one who has to go for ESI. I'm the one who has to comply to all the government regulations. So that's why we have requested the government to take care of our immediate cash flow, which hinders our immediate 3-month problems that we might be facing. Fingers crossed, I am looking at this lockdown getting over by, let's say, the end of April.
Yeah.
Scenario 2, if it goes to May, my problems grow. But again, I have to find my own solutions. And I think this is a very nice forum, where at least we are sitting with Mr. Khanna, I wish, and Chef Gill. I wish more tourism related and hotel related customers and the service providers should get together, sit face to face, and we have to actually make a case to start applying towards solutions. And what does this we have to prepare ourselves to help each other for the next 6 months to 1 year, so as to come out of it together. So
Mr. Malhotra, I think one issue that I get draw from your discussion is that cash flow will be an issue, and it's already an issue. Now that it is quite obvious that though the lockdown may be lifted on April 30th, chances are that it will be lifted in stages. That is the general buzz that I get, from my fellow colleagues, my people who are covering this episode. I'll take a short break and introduce Chef Gill.
Chef Gill, you will be pleased to know that there are about 200 participants today. They are watching you on the webinar, and they have a lot of questions. These participants have already posted a lot of questions. So I request Sorish that after speaking of Mr. Chef Gill, please take up the questions of some of the participants.
Yeah,
we have a lot of questions, so please do that later.
In fact,
and
it's a very big.
And after a few minutes, please give me a leave, because I have to join one webinar conference with Chief Secretary Rajasthan on some important issues. Thank you very much. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Right.
So Chef Gill, you unfortunately you may have missed the discussion earlier. But the discussion this time, the focus is, and everyone has made some very interesting points. The point was made about artificial intelligence. Point was made about getting occupancies back, like we have seen in the case of China. The point was made about how hotel and restaurant equipment manufacturers, which are basically small units, can get back on their feet. All these issues were discussed. Now, Chef Gill, how how big is the problem from the food industry point of view, and what are the solutions that you can think of?
I think I'm positive that we'll be back with a good time, and even better, maybe.
Right.
But
right.
there will be a lot of reforms will happen now.
Right.
And a lot of things we have learned that there can be a hard time like this. And
Right.
so we should be prepared. We should be prepared. And
But what are the learnings?
As much,
What are the learnings?
Learnings are very good. Learning, like we were talking about just now, that the money is job. We should believe that the money cannot buy everything. And that we realize to do, but the things will go on.
Right.
The execution, everything go on. People will back on. But the real is that our personal efforts has to be more than we should depend on the money so much.
Right.
So everybody has to put their own personal efforts, put their own hard work to make the thing. It should be more participative than hiring people and spending money and all those things. I think that is going to be which we have learned now. That it's that we have to work, we have to do the hard work, we have to put the things together and achieve the success for yourself, for the industry, for the community, for the nation.
Right, right. And, specifically, what do you think is going to be the biggest solution, because this is not going to be a small-term problem, like Zehen sometimes was earlier was saying that as far as the foreign travel is concerned, we can write off, the FY 2021, But domestic travel will be there. I mean, it may just go up, given that background, how do you think, what should be the first F&B should take now?
I think, this is the time that the F&B people as a whole community must do the, retrospect to them, to understand that what changes we have to bring for the future. And this is the right time now that we have to study the subject much more even and understand it and even increase our knowledge that how we will make. We used to say that food like back or to the plate to the farm and or farm to the plate and all those kind of things. I think now they're only the phrases, not the reality actually. Reality was there maybe for few, or maybe you can count those 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 restaurants in the world. But now I think this has to be reality. It cannot be just a phrase now. If you will
in fact, farm to plate will be the new normal.
It will be the new normal. It has to be there. If the farmer doesn't grow, we can't. So in food and beverage, we have to work, now, and even to farm to plate also, or seasonal food or local food. This has to be the reality. You cannot just use as a dialogue, or you cannot use as a marketing tool just to say, but behind the kitchen, nothing is normal. What happened? So that change has to. People are going to demand that now. If not immediately, but with the time, people are going to demand. So you have to be very, very fair with the food, very, very clean with the food, and you have to be good with the food. So that
I think
people also
feel. Food procurement strategies will have to change.
It has to change. It has to change.
So I'll bring in Mr. Khanna. I'll bring in Mr. Jatin Khanna here. So Mr. Khanna, like the Marriott is now 120 plus hotels in India, and you represent a mass volume in terms of if you're talking about what Chef Gill is talking about, making this whole business of farm to plate a reality. You represent this mass volume of buying. How do you think you will change your procurement strategies to reflect or to come to work closer together with the farmers. Because I mean, we are not talking about them, but they're suffering more than all of us.
Sure. I think, you know, from a Marriott point of view, that process is already in place where we keep on sourcing locally, which really helps in delivering better food product. But what will really change in hotels as we move along, especially post-COVID-19, is that food safety, hygiene will start playing a bigger role in our industry. And that's where I think all our patrons or all our, guests who walk into any of the restaurants, whether it's a restaurant or in hotel, would like to see something on those lines. Initially, Mr. Malhotra had brought a point saying, what would change in our industry? If you remember a few years back, every corporate company started asking about environment viability from hotels, saying, what do you do to protect the environment? This will be the new thing where companies or guests will start asking, what do you do? How do you procure your food? How do you process your food? What are the safety guidelines in your hotel? And not only in food, but also in all the other areas, which is where, whether it is in your laundry, where the chemicals play an important role and the machines play an important role, this will all start coming into play. This will be a big game changer where hygiene, safety, food standard, all will start becoming paramount in our industry. That's the way I look.
That's a very important point, and I think
Chef Gill. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, we are using only as a marketing tool about procurement of the fresh organic vegetables and all that. I like to know that how many hotels, companies, why the local anything the market.
Right.
It is easy to say that, but the farmers are not supplying. They are not giving it because they cannot come into the hotel system of competency.
Right.
They cannot be, and the payment will be done after 21 days or 30 days. So no hotel is doing it.
Right.
No hotel is doing it.
In fact, that is Chef Gill, that is a very important point. That is a very important point. I think this crisis will, drive hotels to devise systems where they make they bridge the gap between walking and talking. You know.
Absolutely. The hotel companies must understand that. Must empower the people.
Okay.
Well, I have one more question for both Mr. Khanna and Chef Gill. Chef, when we are talking about restaurants, this is my question to you. One is a hotel restaurant and one is a standalone restaurant. So how do you feel that a hotel restaurant will be able to substantiate and stay there vis-a-vis the standalone restaurant? What are going to be the changes? And the second part of the question, Mr. Khanna, is that how do you think the hotel restaurants are going to counter the standalone restaurant in terms of getting business?
Chef Gill, will you start, and then Mr. Khanna will join?
Okay. You see, both are in the same boat. In a hotel, it is going with the corporate finance law control, and in the standalone, it is the owner's control. Owner like to do the financer, whosoever is there, like to do that. It has to be the chef-led, some decisions where the chef need to be empowered to buy the perishables, the produce and whatever. He is answerable for everything. Every question can be asked to him. Every finance details can be taken from him. Audits can be done, but he should be empowered. Unless it is not, if we see that these policies are followed very well, it is normally into the restaurant which are owned by the chefs. Or such a financing is done where nobody knows who's the financing and chef own them. Probably this is possible to do it and sampling. Otherwise, it is only a talk. It's only a talk.
So, Mr. Khanna, is it possible? I'll also add here. Now, a lot of hotels are saying that our business is to sell rooms. Do we really need more than one restaurant in a hotel. There are even hotels in tier 3 cities which have like 3 restaurants or something. Hotel chains are questioning the logic of having restaurants in hotels.
So I'm going to answer this in 2 parts. First, to Mr. Malhotra's point, how do we compete against standalone restaurants? I think first and foremost, we both have been existing in this space from years and years. What has really happened is that with time, especially in last few months, or maybe in last 1 year, you've got a third competitor which has come up, which is all your cloud kitchens as well, which was not the case earlier. And I think one of the biggest things what we really need to do is today it's all about value, what you bring to the table as a hotelier or as a restaurant. I think good food will always remain good food. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of standalone restaurants when they open, the quality of food sometimes is not that great, and that's why you see a lot more mortality rate in standalone restaurants as compared to hotels. Now, coming to your question, do we need 2, 3, 4 restaurants in a hotel? I think it's a question which every hotelier today is struggling with, and that is why you see a lot more partnerships happening with standalone restaurants or other entrepreneurs who are coming into the hotels now, where hotel chains are happy to outsource one of their restaurants. So I think right. It's a space where we're all coexisting. But to your point, every company needs to have a strategy for tier 1 and a tier 2, tier 3 cities separately. That's the way I look at this industry, and that's the way I see this will keep on changing as time.
I think that's a very important point. We are also getting a lot of questions from our members in the audience. Zehen, can you unmute your mic, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zehen, there's a question from Somnath Das, and he makes a point which, he's from Luxos, which is the manufacturer of outdoor furniture. Now he makes a point, and it is somewhat similar to the Chinese example that you gave, that should the government promote Make in India purchase policies, to tide over the current situation? And aggressively promoted. I mean, he says instead of buying stuff from Europe and America, is it time we look around and found solutions?
Absolutely. Being a manufacturer and focusing on Make in India for the last 45 years as a company, as a philosophy, that's the most important aspect we should look at. And there's a huge penetration of Chinese machines when it comes to laundry in India. But I feel that at the same time, when you talk about laundry, we have managed to, withstand that competition in a very strenuous way. And the government.
How are you able to do it?
So how am I able to do it, or how?
I mean, how were you able to withstand competition? I think that is a question a lot of people will be asking now.
So I feel always supply a machine at a good price, a great machine at a good price. And that's what these Chinese people are doing. It's always about the price for them. And if you talk about the percentage of procurement of laundry machines per se from the Western world, whether it's Europe and US, has drastically decreased, and that percentage has moved to China. So if you talk about Make in India, so that percentage we can counter on, and we can take full opportunity of that percentage and take it to the Make in India scope.
Right. I think this is, Mr. Khanna, I would ask you a question I would direct a question which has been given to us, shared with us by Ahmad Khan, who's in the business of interiors and renovations. Now, there is a lot of fear in this section of the industry that, the hotel construction will slow down. Hotel renovation will also slow down post COVID-19. Do you see such a thing happening? And in that case, how do people in the interiors, people who provide all the material you need for the interiors, cope with the obvious shortfall in demand?
So Suresh, 2 parts to this. One is renovation plan. I do not have any, good news to give you in this, but I can tell you the way we look at it. Probably there will be some delays in renovation. Now, obviously, when you say renovation, it has to be in two parts. Either it's a soft case redo or it's a hard case redo. I feel the hard case redo where you really have to do major work, that probably will be delayed or will be kind of put on the back burner. Soft redos may happen, but that too only 2020 end or 2021 starting. But yes, for this year, a lot of projects in terms of renovation have been put on stop. On the construction, remember, India is notoriously famous for delayed projects. So I don't see that to have a big, kind of a stumbling block. Maybe another 3-4 months of delay. That's what you're really talking about. But I don't see that part really closing. We as a company today are still talking about active deals. We're still talking about, with quite a few partners. One of the big things which will really change our industry, and we got to watch out is, and I know it may not be the best statement to make, but once this COVID-19 finishes, we have to watch out how many hotels will still open or how many restaurants will still open, because a lot of these business partners may have a lot of financial trouble. And what if they open? Would there be a lot more conversion opportunities from different brands? And what that really means is that there will be some work coming our way, whether it is in renovation or some bit of upliftments or doing kind of technical specs. So that probably may happen if you ask me. But yes, these are my 3 buckets the way I would like to answer.
I think a very realistic picture.
Sorry, if I can request one thing, another 5 minutes, I'll be leaving because I've got another call.
Okay. I think now everyone is on some con call or a webinar right now, which is a good thing. Which is, I think, then Mr. Khanna, can I I just ask Mr. Malhotra for his views on the questions that were just asked, and after that I'll give you 2 minutes to conclude, and then you can go on to your con call, please.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mr. Malhotra, briefly your responses to this is one question which is coming up and up from a from our audience is, how do we deal with Chinese competition? Zehen talked about price and product, good mix of both. What is your take on this?
I'm a nationalist as much as Zehen is, and as a matter of fact, we have to be more competitive, keeping our quality side by side. So if we can handle both these situations, there is no reason why a hotelier would still prefer a Chinese product to an Indian product. So we have to be more competitive in price and better in quality.
Yeah. I think, Mr. Khanna, you make a concluding statement from your part, and then you can exit. Can't hear you, Mr. Khanna.
I don't want to sound too bookish in this, but I think this is a time which is teaching us all a lot. This is what I would tell everybody, that if you really want to look at how the industry would be, first of all, we need to collectively think today, if not collectively, at least individually, that what were the concerns pre-COVID-19 in our industry. Now, for a restaurant operator, it may be with all the delivery apps and all. And we really want to list that down and see how can we influence those concerns, and once we're coming out of this, how will we change the way we operate? That is very, very important. From a business perspective, I can only say one thing, that if you want to stimulate demand, remember, you got to bring value. You cannot get into say that, okay, I was reading somewhere that, okay, let's hike the price and start making up for the shortfall of these 2 months. That is not a policy which will work. It's a very funny thing. When I was in Hong Kong in 2008 happened, do you know the only restaurants or F&B spaces which really started doing the best business were only McDonald's and Pizza Hut, because people really did not have money. The corporate spending had really gone down. Now, if you want to go that far, you will see that the Burger King and McDonald's probably will be laughing to bank, and our restaurants and hotels may not do well. So cannot get into a price escalation. List down your concerns. I have a very simple thing to say, that today if you go to a restaurant, you have your GST, you have your service charge, how are we going to make it affordable for our customers when they come out of their homes and they really, really want to enjoy? So I think those are my 2-3 bits which we all should look at and see how do we want to do business once this opens up.
One quick question,
Yeah.
one of our audience, one of our audience, Alan DeMello from Bombay, you're talking about reducing costs. He's talking about service charge being increased to 15%, so that the people who have suffered, the workers who have suffered in the current crisis, get something back, something back in their lives.
Look, we can always differ in our opinion, and I personally am of the opinion that service charge is a ticking time bomb. Any day, if the government comes back with regulation today, in any case, it's not mandatory for everybody to pay service charge.
Right.
So it is like a ticking time bomb. And don't forget, these are some of the things why I'm saying that in future, cloud kitchens will have a little edge over hotels and restaurants where you still want to sit at your home, enjoy your drink and have food as well, which is coming at your 10% less cost. So you have to look at that part. I don't think service charge is the only solution. I just said it because I am not a big fan of service charge for obvious reasons. We have seen in hotels that today, if we, amongst all the hotel chains, there are hardly 2 or 3 who charge service charge. And that too, there are a lot of disputes, which also lead to guest dissatisfaction. So it's an individual call, what you want to do. But if you want to simulate demand, you need to look at ways and means of how you're going to do that. You may have your guests walking away from you. And if you want to increase your service charge to 15%, then I think that should be a body response, not an individual standalone restaurant response. Because if you try and do in bits and pieces, you will get into again a price war, and you will start seeing your profits eroding. That's the only thing I would say.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Khanna. I think you're free to go to your other Concord. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I have one question which I think is important. Mr. Malhotra, maybe you can address it. What about packaging? We talk about safety guidelines. We talk about hygiene becoming very important, more important in the future. What about packaging? Are there going to be new rules in place for packaging, or what are we going to see?
Are you talking about packaging when it comes to the food?
Food packaging, yes.
Well, I think Mr. Khanna had spoken quite a bit on this, and I think Chef Gill would be a much better person when it comes to answering such a question. And Chef, I hope you're listening to this.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm very sure that as we have a lot of WHO guidelines on so many of our existing guidelines to cover the COVID-19, I'm sure there are going to be many more guidelines towards hygiene, towards these standards that will come back to the hotel industry like nobody's business. I hope Chef agrees with me on this.
You see, the thing is, that is what I'm saying, that the food and beverage experts have to sit together, or individually, they must share whatever they think, that now how we can design the food, for many, keeping in mind the many factors. One is the food now. People have to be serious as far as nutrition of the food is concerned. People want to take the food affordable, but they want food must be nutritional. They feel good eating the food. They must look forward for the next meal when they finish their one meal before that. So the food has to be considered again, that we are not adding the ingredients, we are not doing the system just to make it food more exotic and expensive. Like, for example, a very simple example, like in the industry I have seen that there was a standard size of samosa, which is good a person can eat. Only we want to sell for 200 rupees or 300 rupees, made this samosa bigger and bigger. So that's not the solution now. That is not the solution. It should be the right portion. It should be affordable. Affordable is the key word in food and beverage.
So affordable,
value.
Value.
Exactly.
Yeah, value.
Exactly.
And
value for money.
No, I value for money with the right portion. You cannot increase the portion and you waste the food.
And you
Food
see,
should
and
be
not to
managed.
forget
Now,
what Mr. Khanna also pointed out a little earlier, that when it comes to food, and you know, we have these cloud kitchens. Operators better be careful about it, and you know,
no, but
they
see,
will
but
pose a
Mr.
big threat.
No, Mr.
You
Khanna,
know,
no doubt they say. But that's what I'm saying. Like we talked about the hygiene sanitation, I think the kitchens, the restaurant should not open unless they have not the audit done by the hygiene and sanitation or the food safety department, vis-a-vis with the size of the restaurant, with the size of the backup. You
in
know,
fact,
the
Suresh,
safety has
FSSAI will
to
have
be
to
there.
have a very big role.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you cannot open the restaurant. So
you know,
hygiene, food safety is
Yeah.
very important. And number two, when it's not about the affordable. And number three is, which we talk about packaging. We
Right.
must, as a customer, and the industry also. Like if tandoori roti cannot be packed, it cannot be packed. It has to be fresh for the tandoor people have to eat. Then you have to go to the restaurant and enjoy the good tandoori roti or a good kebab or a good thing.
Right.
Or we have to create the packaging. And there's a lot of help required from the scientific industry also, that how we
Right.
can pack. If we can't, why not we introduce the full cars of the roti which can be packed easily.
In fact, with cloud kitchens becoming
We should change. We should change our system. We have to think about. We have to come out from our standard set Indian food, so called. We must. Indian food has a very large repertoire. There's all kind of food is available. The dishes available. The breads available with all kind of systems the way you want. You want to the food to travel. We have to think that how food can travel. So the packaging must be made accordingly. Dishes need to be changed around. They must be changed around. They must be picked up, changed around. I'm not saying you temper the recipes. Pick up the right dish. So the food should change now. It should come out
Okay.
of this standard or standard menus. You know,
Right.
everybody's having the same menu like that. They must change now according to for what purpose we have our restaurant.
So,
okay,
you know,
Suresh,
we
at
are,
this point of time, Suresh,
Anil,
I
yeah,
would
we are
also
running
like
out
to
of time.
tell
Yeah.
you that
Yeah.
very interestingly, I just received an email yesterday from the US from a consultant saying that post-COVID, they are already selling consultancies to hotels, telling them and you know, advising them how to open the hotel post-COVID with you know,
Absolutely.
the checklists. You know, as a human race, we are very optimistic, and I
Right.
would like to tell all my participants over here that we should be very optimistic, and it will be life back to normal,
Right.
and if not better, and that would be very soon. But we should not you know, skip the gun, and I think we should take the learnings from here to the betterment of not only ourselves, but now to the society also, which we might have forgotten for quite a few years. And I think this
Yeah.
should be the biggest learning that we should take along with us from this pandemic.
I think, Mr. Malhotra, you have really hit it on the nail, you know, especially that bit about society, you know. I think it has taught us a lot of social courtesies, if
yes,
not
we
anything
have
else.
to start giving back in a very small way, which we had actually forgotten. And I mean,
Right.
I think all of us should take a pledge that we should start giving back. And I'm telling you, this point will help, you know, all of us in such a big way. I mean, I'll give you a very small example. Tomorrow, post this you know, this COVID scenario, when I'll be sitting with my customer once again, which is a hotel. I wish I could have said this in front of Mr. Khanna, but believe you me, I mean, it will be a give and take. It's not always take. It's a give also for both of us. And you know, when he will realize my situation, that you know, I have another you know, 10 of my workers to feed, so that they can feed their families. It's a very big learning curve for all of us, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm not saying that you know, and let me tell you, that man across the table will realize that, and he would be thinking differently post this scenario. I'm 100% sure on this. Sorry,
Zehen, no. I mean, I think you have struck a
reality.
very good note at the end of the discussion. It's all not doom and gloom. Zehen, final. I have a final statement now from Zehen, Chef Gill, and Dadu Sahab, Mrs. Dadu. Even one final statement from you. Okay. So, but first, Zehen.
So I was going through the questions because a lot of questions being posted, and one gentleman, Mr. Rahul, is saying that it's a question to all the manufacturers and people who suppliers in India. So Anilji, this is a question for you as well, and he's trying to say that how much as a company we try to invest in R&D, or we just copycats for us to actually conceptualize Make in India. So I personally feel that India as a country, we are not copycats, and I would feel that China is more leaning towards that area. And I really agree to this. It's more about give and take. It's about a beneficial relationship with your vendor and your client at the same time. So if you really concentrate on Make in India as a manufacturer, if I'm able to generate more revenue, I'll be substantially investing the same amount, on R&D as well. So it's about give and take, and I feel that hope is the only answer now, and we'll definitely come out of this in the best possible way.
Sure. I think that's a very good note. Chef Gill, anything that you have to say? Some people are saying, like even when we're talking about cloud kitchens, it's interesting to see during this lockdown period, all hotels are entering the cloud kitchen business. So many of them have started home deliveries. Do you think it will become a long-term sort of?
I think it might be trying to, cover up or to keep the people busy in this hard time. But I think that you have to really, think it over and how you have to do it. And whatever you do, even if you do a cloud kitchen, the cloud kitchen also, as far as hygiene sanitation is concerned, it doesn't matter which star you are. The human is same. So you cannot compromise on the hygiene and sanitation and the food safety. Food has to be safe. So you cannot compromise. So that money has to be spent on that. But then the food, which dishes do they, how much value you put into that, and that is a different thing. That how you make your food affordable and you do the business. So it is not like Dan was saying, it is not copy and cat. Every restaurant, every cloud kitchen, every hotel, they have to discover the food, and they have for their own self, for their own business, and then further serve that, do the service of the food accordingly.
One quick question which has come on, which sort of caught my fancy, was this question which says that that the gentleman who represents a Japanese company, a lot of hotels are going to cut down on purchases of equipment. He represents a company which makes knives.
You see, that is what I'm saying.
How will we deal with this?
Food. You see, food is a very variable.
Right.
So like in a dish, every ingredient has to play a role for the goodness of the body, not just it look nice. Like people started using flowers and all that. Now people have stopped using the flowers of place. Those flowers have to have a role. Like in India, we cook all the flowers as a food, not just lying on top of the food. But they're cooked. They're cooked when the season is over, when they've fallen for the plants. And we cook those flowers. And we have plenty of recipes for that. What I'm trying to say is, so every ingredient has to play, like in the kitchen also. You have to draft the menu first and then design your kitchen and then buy your equipment. Mostly what happens sometimes, people design everything, they equip the kitchen also, and then they start planning the menu. Then they find that a lot of equipment is lying there, which is used maybe for 10 minutes in 24 hours. So the equipment must be there, which are multi-purpose, and the chef must understand how to use those and make your kitchen and the cooking steps. You can do the traditional cooking also into a high technology equipment, but you have to change the steps. So that's the intelligence of the chef, that how much you think, how much you can do it, but everything plays a very big role. Square feet area is also very, very expensive. The
Right.
equipment has to be accordingly.
Right. And I think that's where I think we have to keep driving home the Make in India message. You know? Mr. Dadu, आप कुछ बोलने चाहेंगे at the end of the discussion? Concluding thoughts from you.
सर बिल्कुल। सबसे पहले तो मैं श्री राकेश कुमार जी के ब्याह पर मिस्टर शेफ गिल, मिस्टर जतिन खन्ना, मिस्टर जॉन अरोड़ा एंड भट्टाचार्य साहब, आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आप सबने समय निकाला और इस पैनल डिस्कशन में सब लोग जितने भी हमारे दूसरे मेंबर्स हैं सब लोग अपना समय निकाल कर बैठे हैं। और जैसा कि मैंने पहले कहा था और मिस्टर गिल ने भी उसी बात को कहा कि हम सबको एकजुट होकर सारी समस्याओं का सामना करना है, एक दूसरे की परेशानियों को समझना है, जिससे जो भी कंट्रीब्यूशन हो सकता है इंडस्ट्री में हम लोगों को एक दूसरे का सहयोग देकर सारे काम को आगे बढ़ाना है। हिम्मत से काम लेना, परेशानियां तो आई हैं और आने वाली हैं। मुझे दिख रहा है कि लॉकडाउन शायद और भी ज्यादा समय के लिए बढ़ सकता है और परेशानियां भी हमारी बढ़ सकती है, लेकिन हम लोग हिम्मत से करेंगे तो पूरी दुनिया में सब लोग देखेंगे कि हिंदुस्तान, पूरा हमारा भारत देश एक विश्व विजेता की तरह आगे बढ़ा है और हमने सारी अपनी इकोनॉमी को भी ठीक कर लेंगे। ये सबको एकजुट होने की आवश्यकता है। और मैं एक चीज और कहना चाहूंगा कि हम लोगों ने जितना भी डिस्कशन किया है, जो हमारा कैटरिंग सेक्शन है, हमने उस पर थोड़ा सा विचार कम किया है। अगले डिस्कशन में हम चाहेंगे कि हमारे जो कैटर्स हैं भाई हैं, उन सबको भी सहयोग लें, उन सबको भी साथ में लें और उनके भी विचार।
बिल्कुल। नहीं ये तो एक सीरीज है, तो इसके बाद हम केटरिंग हम हर डिपार्टमेंट पे फोकस करेंगे।
Important, very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
So talking, I want to make a point. The person from who's coming from Japan, from the Kai group, he said that the procurement of equipment will cut down, and I certainly feel that. So I'll talk about laundry in general.
Right.
What we do as a laundry company, we produce machines. That is one fact of the matter. But at the same time, we also help the hotels to install a laundry in their own premises where they do not have to pay for the laundry machines. And what they instead do is they pay per kg or per piece or per room. So we have associate partners and we have dealers who do that. So our associate partners, which we call the contractors, they buy machines from us and we have a certain arrangement with them and they put the machines in their premises. So this is a win-win scenario for a manufacturer, also for hotels. So similarly, every industry, people from different industries can come in and come about or plan a strategy which is a win-win scenario for all of us.
Thank you so much. I think Zehen, you sort of set the tone for the ending. You made my life and my job easier. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show. And hopefully we'll continue our dialogues. And so till the next webinar, see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you everybody. Thank you everybody. Thank you.
Stay home, stay safe.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's important.